of a human as a robot.
That makes sense.
It's kind of crude.
Yeah. Wait, that's the fun thing about academics is that we tend to we always tend to try to. Hi there, my name is Colin, and today I'm going to be showing you an interview I did, a really quick one, with a professor by the name of Dr. Dan Popa. He's been my advisor for the last few months at my little REU, our undergraduate research experience, our internship here at the University of Louisville. And I figured, as a nice little end to it, codify, kind of capture a little moment of our interactions over the past few months, as he's somebody that I learned a lot from in terms of the world of MEMS devices. For those of you who aren't familiar with MEMS, it's let's see if I can get this right, micro electromechanical systems, basically tiny robots that actuate various things. This interview was me, a couple different things, me sitting down, kind of combining the whole research experience together, getting some of his takes on how he came to this position, what he finds interesting about the field, and more fundamentally, it's probably the first of hopefully many videos I'll be putting together of myself interviewing different professors and researchers I look up to, to kind of get their sense of, for a given field I'm interested in, how they got into it, how does one advance in the field, where for me a lot of my interest is in rocket propulsion or pushing advanced rocket propulsion technologies, how we can apply a lot of these different ideas to this field, and or how we can what the different connections are between the different fields. Don't have a name if this is gonna be a podcast or just weird random video segments I do, so you can insert whatever fun title you have here, without further ado, let's jump into my short interview with Dr. Dan Popa. So hi everybody.
Hello.
This is Dr. Popa. He's been my advisor and been dealing with all my questions this year. First off, I want to say thank you again for doing all this.
You did a lot of work, and it was really good, and I'd like to commend you for it.
Yeah, thank you. First I want to ask you is what got you into micro and nanotechnology? Okay,
so it's actually a more convoluted way that I got in.
Yeah.
So my original background is in controls and robotics.
Yeah, gotcha.
Actually, I started with math and physics.
Yep.
Then I didn't want to do pure math or pure physics. I wanted to do applied, right?
Yeah.
So engineering is the closest to
that.
It's
just,
and then robotics seems to be very, one of the disciplines I got interested in because it puts together physics as well as math.
Yep, yeah, so you got a kind of nice combination.
And the technical, hands-on stuff.
Yeah.
And so I worked, when I was in grad school, I worked on two topics. For my master's, I worked on virtual spinal tap.
Oh, wow.
Which is basically virtual reality. It was right when virtual reality was getting started.
Yeah.
We had this device that could simulate the spinal tap procedure.
Yeah.
For an anesthesiologist or for a medical student. So because you don't want to do that, there's always the first time, and so you don't
learning on a human patient might be kind of problematic.
So that was how I got interested in robotics, and then for my PhD, I went and I did self-driving, driverless vehicle.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, so that seems to be pretty, surprised you didn't jump back in.
The late 90s. That was in the late 90s. By the time I graduated, I finished that thesis. Though the interest in that had waned in terms of the funding. Even like for Mars mission, that was the only place that you can apply.
Yeah.
The rovers on Mars.
Yeah.
So right when I finished my PhD, that whole area, the interest had collapsed all of a sudden.
Gotcha.
So there's no more interest. So I was looking for a new area, and at that point, micro and nanorobotics was nowhere in sight. Basically, very few groups. So I looked around and I said, okay, I'm gonna get involved in this.
Yeah.
So basically taking all the robotics toolbox, control toolbox, applying to this new technology called MEMS.
Yeah, gotcha.
That's how I got started. So I had to learn, after my PhD, everything I know about MEMS and
Gotcha. Actually, maybe this actually, I was planning to do this question later, but that keys up nicely into that one. Because you come from Microrobots, or you came from a self-driving car, and then spinal tap background, and now you're going to something kind of related because it's all STEM at the end of the day. You're teaching yourself this. What I think we might have some props here that can help out with it. What were the tools or the textbooks that you tend to jump to a lot where you're into a new field? How do you attack it?
Yeah, so back then there were no books. There were very few books.
Yeah.
So MEMS had been established in the 90s pretty solidly. There was this conference called Hilton Head Conference, and it's still there.
Yeah.
It's basically it's a MEMS conference where all the people that were there from the beginning of MEMS go to, and that's where you would communicate the new breakthrough discoveries.
Gotcha.
I was working on a big project at that time with a company called Zyvex Labs.
So that's where so you might have had something to do with the snap connector. Okay.
So they had a facility very close to UT Arlington. It was in Dallas, and in fact, I started working on that project when I was at Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute in New York. So I used to drive.
That's it. Okay.
So they would know the physics.
Yeah.
And so they had this project to build the next generation molecular assembler.
Yeah.
So they had this big vision. They wanted to build robots that are like.
Yeah.
And you see this in videos already, and so this has already been a goal for many years.
Yeah.
They had the funding to actually take MEMS technology and make microrobots.
Yeah, gotcha. Okay.
So a lot of the their techniques and tools and stuff, and the clean room, I saw at their facility and during this project. So it
gotcha.
had a big impact. So essentially, if you want to get into a new field, you need to go to the place of gatherings or all these people, and then sort of talk to them, hang out with them, see how they do things.
Gotcha.
You pick up many things.
Just getting.
So you basically got to get informed from the top experts.
Gotcha. That makes sense. Yeah, no, I think it sounds very much. It's always interesting to hear the same story because I know we all have our favorite South African billionaire Musk. That's where he talks a lot about. That's how he started SpaceX. Is he got all the top rocket scientists get together. It seems like when you're at the cutting edge, just like you talked about, micro nano robots, basically no work had been done. It was a little bit, but it was still just bare bones, brand new field. That's how you kind of get the stars. You have to get a bunch of people together in one conference, see what everybody knows, at least to the best of their knowledge, and then from there you kind of explore as one big group. That's kind of how. Okay. Did you guys find at that time, were there any particular resources that you guys leaned on more? Like I know in I know rockets fairly well. Everyone tends to lean on, like I think it's Sutton's Rocket Propulsion Elements is kind of like the Bible. I find myself, and a lot of people find themselves going back to that textbook. Are there certain textbooks that you found referring to a lot?
So not textbooks, but there's all these conference proceedings, right? From Hilton Head and other places that there's also a MEMS conference. IEEE MEMS conference.
Gotcha.
That is similar. There's also several NSF projects which were very influential at that time from Berkeley. So there's this famous lab, Berkeley Sensors and Actuator Center.
Yeah.
And so people there were talking about smart dust and things like that 30 years ago. It was a long time ago.
Gotcha. Wow. Yeah.
So if you basically read those papers, you'll pretty much see.
So those were the ones that a lot of the industry built upon, was a lot of the Berkeley.
There were some pioneers, very influential, like Brad Nelson, who's now in Europe at UPH Zurich.
Gotcha.
There's several like super spreaders.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, that's.
So there's a group at Berkeley that and I was actually part of a group at RPI and then later at UT Arlington that had, because of our Zyvex connection, had some unique technology, some of this assembly technology that you see that you won't find anywhere else.
Gotcha. Okay.
And this microassembly is more connected to the watch industry. There are places in Europe that specialize in these things, especially in Eastern France, they have the watch industry, in Switzerland and in Germany.
Yeah.
where it's long been a tradition.
Oh yeah, you have centuries of.
So in fact, I went and I toured in the early 2000s. I went to all these labs and visited, and I gave talks, and then they would show me what they were doing.
Gotcha. Then you could kind of build your knowledge
base
from there. We had
some people from there coming over.
Gotcha. That's a fun little, It's like, it's a pay for my flight to Europe, and I get to go check out all these, old watchmakers and see,
So the watch industry is very secretive. They will not. They will not let.
Gotcha. I'm sure you know some things. You're like you heard nothing, or gotcha.
Well, they wouldn't share. They wouldn't share anything. So,
interesting.
But the universities there work with the watchmakers, so they.
Gotcha.
They would kind of know.
Okay, but they're like, if you get a PhD here, maybe we'll tell you. But that makes sense. No, gotcha. Cool. Okay, well, I guess to mostly wrap it up, because I know we have you for a few more minutes, and then it's off to the next meeting. But okay, you start out. You came into this industry mostly from the robotics background, self-driving cars. I don't know if you might have heard, but it's kind of a big thing. You might jump back into it. So you started there, and then you got really interested in MEMS technology.
Yeah. And so microrobotics was just getting started. So I was part of the people who actually created the field of microrobotics.
Yeah.
As the technical committee at IEEE, and that sort of grew to the point where now there's a conference.
Oh yeah,
conference.
yeah.
That's basically a breakaway from the robotics conference for people interested in micro nano.
Gotcha.
Automation and robotics, and but about 10 years ago, other things started happening. So human-robot interaction was becoming big, and I had already a background from before, so I sort of got re-involved with that.
Yeah, so it brings it full circle again. Yeah.
So now there's a variety of interests.
Yeah, gotcha. That makes sense.
So not just micro nano, but also.
Yeah, you could go a little bit more macro scale. I'm curious. So you've gone on this 30-year journey, and there's probably going to be hopefully 30, if not more years. I'm wondering if you could go back. We invent the time travel machine, or you do that in your lab. You can go back to grad student Dr. Popa. What would the advice be to yourself as starting out in the field? Are there things that you wish you knew earlier that you had to figure out along the way?
That's a good one.
Yeah.
I haven't thought about it like that.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So, I mean, these are things that I encourage my students to do right now, and I think that that's partly because I encourage myself to do those things. But it's not a natural tendency. So I think my philosophy is, if you don't know something, or if you have an area where you're not that good, to try to basically persevere.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Get better.
Yeah.
I mean, that's basically what advice I would give myself.
Yeah.
Because not everybody's good at. You're gonna have some weaknesses, whether it's in your analytic ability, or whether it's in your presentation ability, or whether it's in your writing ability. Nobody's perfect.
Yeah.
But if you persevere, you can actually get a lot better in all these things, and you need all of them to do an advanced degree.
Yeah, gotcha. That makes sense. I think that's the interesting trade-off. I think the key point there is for the advanced degrees. There's many things in life we can get good at, and at the end of the day, you have only so much time. You have to choose which areas you get good in. I'm wondering if you have any insight for research. It sounds like you're saying. Getting good at obviously the presentation skills, communication
so for
skills.
example, I remember looking back at my grad school years. I was an RA. I was never a TA.
Gotcha.
And I could have gone to my advisor and said, "Hey, I just want to do a TA. I want to be teaching."
Yeah.
Because that's how you beef up those. And so I learned teaching much later.
Gotcha.
And I wish I had
swapped both of them.
Yeah,
I know people talk about when you teach something, that's when you know how well you actually know it.
Exactly.
It's like a second learning, because you have to, you're like, oh, wait, now I actually have to know what I'm talking about before just,
And back then I was thinking, well, I'm just gonna, do this stuff.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
don't need to tell anybody about it,
Yeah.
But that's, not the best way.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Thank you very much for taking a little time.
All right.
Talking to the camera. I guess TA research assistant. Bye, Mom.